Phil Spencer just called and he wants you to run the Halo team. What do you do? Right, that's a question somebody has right now, probably today. I've been thinking about this a lot because thinking about it in context of a few things. First, TV shows ended. Cheers came to an end. We got no more Cheers. That was fine. Seinfeld came to an end. Got no more Seinfeld. Things end. But games, people tend to want to keep going. They want to see more, right? Half-Life 3. Do you really remember what happens at the end of Half-Life 2 Episode 2? I mean, I wrote some of that, and I barely remember what happened. That was 17,000 years ago. I don't know, right? But people care. Halo has this problem, right? Halo's now would be Halo. Honestly, with all the side numbers, who knows? A lot of Halos, right? But a TV show has the same characters, and it comes through, and it's the same thing, but more of it. But games, people want something different, right? I was thinking about that in context of Helldivers and Lethal Company. So for me, I like co-op games, right? I make co-op games, play co-op games. And so for the Anacrusis, in a way, it's a throwback. It is, I've talked about the problems we had with production that limited our ability to take it to the next step. And I'm still happy with what we delivered, but it is what it is, right? But over the course of development, things change and personal tastes change, right? I think we've gotten accustomed to making hard games now, right? My friend over at GTFO, Ulf, made, or 10 Chambers, my friends over at 10 Chambers made GTFO, Ulf, and team, and they made a hard co-op game. And that was something that probably couldn't exist. I mean, when Left 4 Dead first came out, it was a hard game for a lot of people, right? So things change. And so if you're Halo, what's your identity? What have you done? What do you want to do with that franchise that isn't just more of the same, right? That's a real problem. Is it doing anything new? Is it doing anything special? Right? I'm going to go to stuff I know really well. Half-Life to Half-Life 2, right? There was always some gimmick. A gimmick sounds cheap, but there was something special that propelled it forward, like the physics in Half-Life 2, right? And so then the thing was Half-Life 3 has got to have the same thing. And VR wasn't quite it for Alex, but that was inside of that same space. But what do you do if you're Halo? Because people worked hard in the most recent Halo. And I don't think I'm not going to be annoying people, I think, when I say that it's struggled. It is not the monster hit that Microsoft had hoped, right? They originally purchased Bungie for Halo, if you remember, and that was going to be what they built their backs on. And then they did the same with Gears of War. I remember this conversation with Gears of War to Gears of War 2. Gears of War was a system seller for the Xbox. And so it got so much love and press that you would never be able to launch Gears of War 2 in the same kind of way because it just didn't have the same popularity, right? And now Gears of War, Microsoft is also kind of taken into places that the last couple have not been that successful, right? I mean, some of this, I'm blaming it Microsoft. I'm blaming their process. I think they have a bad process. It drives me nuts that they keep getting awarded for their process. And maybe it's because they treat people well, though people who work there didn't seem to think so. But, I mean, some do probably, so I'm probably happy. But, I worry about this for Call of Duty. Because for as much as I don't like Call of Duty, I also like Call of Duty. And they do a bunch of good things. And they're at, I think Bobby Kotick is smart to bail when he does because they're in a need of a kind of a reboot, a kind of refresh, a kind of rethought. The Battle Royale was a big boon for them, but was that enough? Their numbers are dropping. Or at least they weren't the biggest selling thing this year, right? I mean, one team that kind of saves themselves is Grand Theft Auto just takes so much time between things and then they do something that only they can do because it's so much money needed to make what they make. And it's so crazy that I kind of just want more Grand Theft Auto, right? I mean, I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 2 and the game Driver 3 came out and Driver 3 was in 3D and Grand Theft Auto 2 was in 2D and thinking, why are they making more of these? Driver's clearly the way forward. Clearly Driver was not. The Driver San Francisco. If you ever get a chance to pick it up, really fun, really good game, really funny game, surprisingly funny game. Okay. But what do you do if you're Halo? And so I was thinking of Lethal Company, and to get back around to that, 'cause it kind of meandered. Thinking of Lethal Company and Hell Driver or Diver. I made the joke Hell Driver, and now I'm just stuck with saying that all the time by accident. But Hell Diver is they break a lot of rules of co-op. But I mean, they're not the first. Like, right? Nothing's a point. Everything's always a line. Like Phasmagoria, that's the game, right? The horror game. Like that broke some co-op rules to scare you and spook you, and definitely Lethal Company built on that, right? That's what we do, right? We see design, we see trends, right? And so then, like Helldiver, I heard someone say like, "Oh, it's making co-op designers rethink it." Well, no, really, it does a lot of the right, what would be traditionally the right things in co-op, right? From like split rewards and all of that kind of thing, and like how it does leveling up and all of that is very much good co-op practice. What that does do is allow you to hurt each other, and it brings friendly fire in the forefront. So it is not a reimagining of co-op, right? I would say Lethal Company is more of a reimagining of co-op, in fact, than Helldiver. But it does break some rules of like just how much you can be a pain to other players. But it ends up we're now thinking that's funny. Back in the day, that was horrendous and bad, and you got angry. So we change over time. So that's why Halo just can't, like Halo, the next Halo just can't be Halo 2. Because people expect more. They expect different. And if I was tasked with that, I don't know what I would do. I don't know, like, there's a whole brand that, man, the minute you're going to make something new that had multiplayer, they're going to be like, it's got to be competitive. It's got to be competitive. It's got to be competitive. You got to make a league. You got to make and that's why I really like Helldiver for that. I'm saying, no, go play Tarkov if you want that. That's not what we are. And I appreciate that. Because they're being very clear of what they are. But what is Halo? What is the Halo franchise? Because if you're Microsoft right now, Phil Spencer's actually calling probably at least 3 people, and you're saying, what's Halo, what's Gears of War, and what's Call of Duty? And I don't think Microsoft has ever shown that they have an understanding of what to do next, and that they know how to run those teams, and they have a process internally that outputs amazing stuff. And again, not slamming the games that have come before. There's a bunch of great stuff in it. I'm just saying their own metrics of success have not been met by those games. And so, well, I mean, Call of Duty, they haven't released one yet. Well, the latest one even, I guess, was a Microsoft one, and that didn't, right? So what do you do? 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 You're not going to create PUBG yourself. So they're really saddled in a tough spot. And so I'm kind of curious of like, pick any one of those 3, I guess. We won't even just nail it down to Halo. The Halo is the one that sticks out to me just because I think it is the most problematic. Because if you asked me to write for Halo, I would ask, could we throw everything away? Because there's so much lore and BS in that game that I have no idea about, that I don't care about. Does Gears have that as well? I don't know. Maybe. Call of Duty is just so convoluted and stupid, it doesn't matter. You could put it anywhere. Well, it's Ghost. He's a nah, whatever, dude. Probably just offended somebody who's got the ghost tattoo. But you know what I'm saying. And maybe you don't. So I'm curious. Pick a franchise. What are you redoing? What are you reimagining? How are you making it better? What are you doing? And yeah, if I look a little tired today, and if I'm a little scrambled, you may not be a plumber like me, but at 1 a.m. last night, out of our kitchen faucet, while doing dishes, this came flying and spraying water everywhere. This came out of the middle, like this. It's not supposed to do that. In case you're not a plumber, it's not supposed to do that. So that kind of woke me up. And now I'm dealing with that because guess who's going to replace a faucet today? It's always something. It is always something. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear and don't just say an extraction shooter. Don't. Maybe you got to get Master Chief helmets. I don't know.